thing. How about now? Yeah, cool. Sorry, guys. So, as I was saying,
Oh,
welcome. Thought I had it muted. I'm gonna have to turn that off in just 1 second. Um, so official welcome. Welcome everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you guys for your patience with the technical stuff today. Jesse was finishing up a meeting and I wanted to pop on my computer just in case. I just didn't want you guys to think that we forgot about you. So thank you guys all for coming again. Thank you guys for coming all week long. A lot of you guys have been here every single night, and that means a lot to me, not just because you're supporting me and the foundation, but because you're supporting yourselves, right? Every single night, you're learning a little bit more that can help you guys live a better life. So tonight I'm really excited about this. She's been coaching me with my confidence for the last couple of years, and this is a conversation that we've had just as roomies. So I'm excited for her to share this with the world. As you guys all know, the founder of the foundation is my lovely roommate, Jesse Strongham. And one conversation that a lot of people don't talk about when it comes to disabilities is sex. So without further ado, Jesse is going to talk about sex, confidence, relationships, all the things. I'm going to go mute the other computer. And if you guys have any questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat.
hello. First of all, I want to take a moment to thank everybody for their time tonight and for joining me for this conversation. I'm just going to dive into like my experience as far as like acquiring my disability, how I kind of navigated sex and everything. And then a lot of stuff, honestly, that I'm sharing with you, I got from Dr. Tepper's research. Dr. Tepper has a cervical level spinal cord injury and IBS, and he wrote an entire book called Regain That Feeling. It's about 64 pages. I read it in 3 days, and it's the book of the month for Wheel With Me Fitness, or Wheel With Me Adapt Fit, the group. So if you wanted to learn more about that, please, check out Dr. Tepper, because a lot of my research does come from him. So when I was 13 years old, I started becoming sexually interested in boys. I love boys the way that boys love women, right? Like a man loves women for like their body and them and sensuality and all the things that a woman brings. I love men for the same reason. And so I really was kind of promiscuous pre-injury. I definitely had serial sexual partners. I serial dated. I bounced around for sure. So I had a lot of experience, and I carried this lack of self-respect in every relationship I had, because I thought that a sign that people liked me was that they wanted to have sex with me. And so before I became a disabled woman, I already had a warped sense of what self-value looked like. I had a warped sense of what it means to love yourself and have confidence, because all these men wanted me. So I thought for sure I was desirable, but they wanted it because it was easy. And I never recognized that until I self-reflected post-disability. So when I became a disabled woman, I lost sensation, lost my sex drive, lost my sense of self, lost my sexual confidence as a whole. I became disabled in a motorcycle accident. I have a spinal cord injury. So I am a T4 paraplegic. I definitely went a little bit recluse for a minute. And then I tried to date. I dated another disabled man. That didn't work out. We were both very newly injured. And so I dated another wheelchair user, and that just didn't work out. And then I like slept around and played with wheelchair users. I think every wheelchair user that's like involved in the community has slept with one another at one point, because we're like, we desire each other, we love each other, we recognize the badassness and look beyond disability, right? Then I started dating non-disabled people. So I dated this one guy who thought he could cheat on me and I wouldn't break up with him, and I did. But then I dated a nurse, and I was with this RN for 2 years. And I didn't realize how much I became dependent on him, because until we broke up, until I broke up with him, because he did so much for me without me even realizing. And in relationships, we often lose our sense of self and independence and self-worth, because a lot of non-disabled people, all they see is that weakness, right? And this is outside of sex. They only see their perception of what we can or can't do, not our actual reality. And so I lost myself in that relationship as far as my independence. So when we broke up, yeah, we'll email the book reference as well at the end. So when I broke up with that nurse, I decided to try and like go on a dating app, right? That was a fail. The dudes in the dating apps, like their pictures they don't look like that in real life. I'll never forget. I told Brie, I was like, I went on a date with this guy and he had all of his teeth in his picture. But then when I saw him in real life, he was missing his teeth. And so that's kind of how that went. And of course, the first question when we go on a date is, well, can you have sex? And my favorite thing to do is look them dead in the eye and go, well, no. The doctors sewed it up and called it a lost cause. They said I couldn't feel it anyways. And like the look on their face is always so priceless. So like there's obviously, if you're feeling things when you're dating somebody, go ahead and like tell them the truth and tell them that you're desirable and that you can still do it. But if you're not feeling things, you don't owe anyone an explanation. And this goes like across the board as a whole, outside of sexual confidence. This is just like building confidence in general. You don't owe anyone an explanation for why you use a mobility device, why you get around the way you get around, why you're in the gym, why you're grocery shopping, why you're doing anything. You don't owe anyone an explanation for anything regarding your disability. And so it's okay to say no. And I've been injured for 8 years and I didn't recognize this until Nikki Walsh did it. And she's like, I told somebody no when they asked me my story. And so last week at the gym, I told this old man no when he asked me, why are you in that thing? And I looked at him and I was like, no, no, we're not doing this. And so you don't owe anyone an explanation about what you can or can't do sexually. If you're not feeling it, if you're not willing to explore that later. So I went celibate in March of 2021. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to focus on me and growing my mental state and getting physically where I want to be and just figuring out who I was and what I wanted, what kind of partner I wanted to be with. And going celibate was the best thing I've ever done for myself, because from the time I first started having sex until that moment, I never spent more than 6 months alone. And I didn't know how to be alone. And I think that's one of the most important things we need to learn as a person with a disability is, how do I be alone? How do I learn to enjoy my own company? How do I not annoy myself? And then the more time you get alone and I journal and I read and I do more things, then I'm like, how can I pleasure myself? What can I still do? See, a lot of people assume that people with disabilities are asexual, which means that it's somebody that doesn't experience sexual attraction towards individuals of another gender. And that's a complete lie. And it's toxic thought. We're not asexual beings. We are definitely sexually attracted to others, whether it's a man, woman, or whatever you decide to be attracted to, right? It's an orientation that's different from celibacy. So like it's the way that people define us, and they often define people with disabilities as asexual. And we're not. We have sexual desires. We have sexual needs. And so as uncomfortable as it is to talk about it, it's something that needs to be talked about if we want to normalize it. So I realized that society views us as these asexual beings and that we're not sexual. So I'm like, well, how can I show up more sexy? And I do what every other influencer does. And I take my clothes off and go on the internet. I posted the boudoir photos and like the sexy photos in the bed for Valentine's Day. And you know what that did? It made me feel worse. It's like, damn, I'm still not viewed as sexy, except for by these Middle Eastern men. Most of my following, side note, is from like Saudi Arabia, Baghdad. Like, I think it's something that a lot of people don't realize. Like, we are desired by the devotees, right? And if you don't know, I'm a side note again, devotees are individuals that are sexually attracted to people with disabilities because of their disability. Lori's like, yeah, I have those too. We all have a couple of them, right? A couple of Muhammads. Nothing against a Muhammad, but it's always a Muhammad. And they're like, marry me, wheelchair baby. We are desirable, right, by those people, but I wasn't attracting the type of person that I wanted to be desired by. And it became discouraging and frustrating, right? How many of us, if you want to just like raise your hand for those of you with your cameras on, just want to feel love, right? All right. How many of us just want to feel desired, right? If you're able, nod. If you're not able to wave your hand, nod your head. How many of us want to be sexually desired, right? So the biggest thing I learned, I'm going to back up. I worked for another wheelchair user for a short period of time, and I will never forget what lit a fire under my ass to start taking care of my mental and physical health. He said, Jessie, you think you're hot shit, but you ain't shit. There's plenty of other girls in chairs that are way hotter than you. Okay, little man, you don't know what you just did. That dude, thank you. You know who you are if you ever see this. Thank you for igniting my fitness journey, because that's exactly what he did. He's like, and when he told me I wasn't the hottest, I was like, oh, big bet. We about to be the hottest then. And that's, you have to get to a point where you're so just tired of other people's shit and other people putting you down that you want to pour into you. Confidence is built from the inside out, and it's not built overnight, and it's built with consistency. And the biggest issue is that we don't consistently work on self. And I'm just as guilty. How many of us enjoy Netflix? Yeah. And scrolling social media. Let's get that one, right? And scrolling TikTok specifically. How many of us don't like it, but we get lost in TikTok? I think that's like a real thing. Or Facebook land. I get lost in Facebook now more than anything because they put reels on there and I'm like, oh my God. What can you be doing with that time that would be more productive for where you want to be? So if you want to feel sexy, if you want to feel desired, right? What can you do? Now, I'm well aware that my body is not desired to everybody, right? Like I'm going to go ahead and do this. I'm going to show you guys my belly, right? Like I still have a belly. And if I'm not in my wheelchair and I'm just sitting like this, I'm going to have this belly. This doesn't define my worth. This doesn't take away from how sexy I am. I'm still a bad bitch. And this belly is not going to take anything away from that. Every single one-on-one nutrition and fitness client I work with says the same thing. Well, I really just like my belly not to be as visible. And we're like, I'm a T4, right? So I'm up here and I got like T1s and T2s being like, I want my belly smaller. I'm like, look, baby, we don't have abs. We can get it smaller, but it's not going to be tight and toned. And that's okay. That doesn't make you any less sexy. That doesn't make you any less, that doesn't take away from your worth, man. And so often we allow that reflection. I have a mirror over here, that reflection in the mirror to determine that worth. And so when you stop giving the physical all of that attention and all of that power over the internal, it completely switches. It flips a switch up here. And you're like, my physical being does not determine my worth. As long as I am doing everything in my power to fuel that physical being properly, to preserve longevity of it, to build that confidence, because where the confidence is built is in the repetitive action of showing up for you, man. The more you show up for you, what you want, your goals. I saw Lori's popped in here. She's in the chat. Lori and I work together. One of her biggest goals is to be able to play on the floor with her grandkids. That's it. She just wants to play on the floor with her grandkids, right? And when we're feeling down, we reconnect that goal. That's what's going to keep us to continue to persevere. And the more, it's literally what we talk about in Wheel With Me Adapt Fit. 1% better every single day. You stack those 1% wins, and all of a sudden you have this big accumulation. And that is where the confidence is born. The more confident you feel in yourself and your ability to execute and show up, the more confidence you have in every other area, including that sexual confidence. So you're like, yeah, Jessie, this is great. I'm going to be more confident. That's cool. I don't have sensation. So what am I going to do? We're about to get creative. Okay. You're going to get creative. You do have sensation here, right? You have sensation here, the back of your neck, down your collarbone, your nipples, on your shoulders, down your arm, the hands. That light touch is essential. Dr. Tepper has research to show that the orgasm is not created through penetration. It's created through connectedness. But you can't connect with somebody else until you connect with self, until you understand self. That's why you have to pour into you and your growth and your development. Top 3 habits that I have every day that allow me to be confident. Number 1 is making my bed. Something so small, but every day I make my bed when I get out of it. I read 10 pages of a nonfiction personal development book. And if you read 10 pages a day, you'll average a book a month. You're literally gaining knowledge from someone else's life experience. If you're looking for something disability related, I recommend Soph Morg's book. It's really good. She just released it. Really enjoyed that one. And of course, Judy Heuman's book, Being Human. Those 2 disability related books you can learn a lot from, learn a lot about self, do some self-reflecting, see if you agree, if you disagree, and where you are on it. Like Judy Heuman's book was singly the most powerful book I've read this year. It puts a lot in perspective. And that's what this allows you to do. And so if you read these books, the third thing is journaling and checking in with self, man. Because you read these books, but then you got to look at, well, how is this book impacting me? What impact does this have? How is this going to change my life? How can I apply this to my life? And the more you develop up here, that confidence to show up, the more you have that confidence here. So we're going to learn our body, learn what we like. I personally, in the last 2 years, have regained a lot of sensation in my legs. So this now is like the light touch here, which is really cool, right? But not everyone has that. So you use the light touch here that you have. I personally recommend, I can't handle it because that's where my injury level is, but a lot of people like nipple clamps. There's no shame in that. And that's the thing, we've got to remove the shame around this, right? There's like this shame and taboo because we think sex and porn. No, being sexual and sensual and using toys and using devices to help you be able to achieve orgasm and climax, there's nothing to be shameful about that. Yeah, so it takes you a little more, but you can do it. So you find this connectedness with self. The more connectedness and understanding you have of you, your desires, your want, your quirks, what works for you, the more you can give that to another partner and transcribe that to another partner to say, hey, this is what I need to get me to where I want to be. Now, the next connectedness is connectedness with the partner. Again, I went celibate, and up until the celibacy, the sex I had with others was very mediocre. Very mediocre. And then last fall, I reconnected with a wheelchair using friend who ended up being my sexual partner for like 7 months or so. And this man, I just feel a very deep connection to. And it opened my mind sexually to things I never even knew I could do in the bedroom. New like positions I got my body in. He had this ottoman, and I would straddle the ottoman like I was riding a horse, and it would be way easier with a non-disabled guy or, you know, a girl that could back it up on you essentially. But like I straddled the ottoman like a horse, and he got behind me, and I was able to like push back, and it was the single best, like the most feeling I've ever had. in my 8 years of being paralyzed. And it felt so good. And it was like such a good central station. But then there's also been times where he'd wake up early in the morning and he just would start kissing my neck, and I would feel the release that way. No penetration, no anything. But it's because I knew my body and I had been doing that. So when I masturbate, I do use toys, which I'm going to show you guys some of what I have. But I have to touch like behind my ears. There's this little spot right here, and I rub that spot. And then I also have to I have to touch my nipples and my breasts, and like I rub myself. And there's for the longest time, I felt like embarrassed and this shame that I was touching myself, because you can't do that. You love God, girl. You can't masturbate. And I'm like, hey, I bet you God masturbates up there too. Shit. I'm just kidding for anyone that but I do. I'm like, God's not going to look any less on me for masturbating, because at least I'm not out sleeping around hoeing the way I did before, right? Like, there's no shame. No one's going to look down on you. And honestly, it's no one's business about what you do for yourself and to pleasure yourself. There's also surrogate sexual partners. So people that will fill in and help you fill your sexual desires and get to know self. I don't know that I could ever do that, because I have to have that connectedness to even want to have sex. But there's a lot out there. So the more you explore your body, the more you understand your body, the more you can move your body and maneuver around, or the more you can articulate how your body needs to be moved, the better of an experience you're going to have. And so and this is why masturbation is important, if you're able to, is because you'll understand what your body does with certain stimulations. So for me, if I have a certain penetration in a certain spot, I'll pee. And so I know that, if I'm in this position in this way, and my bladder's here, and I know I'm going to pee. And so I can warn my partner of that, right? We got to avoid that one. We can't do that one, or whatever. And knowing your body and the triggers in your body allow you to be more informed, so you can avoid those embarrassing moments with a partner. Because let's be real, there's a lot of awkward in sex in general, non-disabled or not. But definitely with the way our bodies move, it's just awkward in general, right? It's just an awkward experience, and you have to be able to laugh at it and understand that this is going to look a little funny. And so I do, if I'm sleeping with someone that's non-disabled, I'm like, hey, I'm going to look like a fish out of water. It's okay to laugh, because I'm going to be laughing, and we're going to be laughing. And if you let it, this could be a really good time. But if not, it could be a really bad time. And I think about this, I slept with this NASCAR driver, and it was the worst sex of my life, y'all. Because he was just laying there like a fish out of water. And I'm like, that's supposed to be me, technically, right? I'm supposed to be the one laying here like a fish out of water, and it's you. And so it's being able to explain, this is what I like. These are the positions I can get my body in. I can control my legs. I can hold my legs, and not depending solely on the partner to move your body around. I think that's the biggest thing. If you're able to have some control, whether it's holding one leg with both hands or arms like this and wrists, you can't leave the sole responsibility of the activity up to just your partner. If you're able, to move a little, obviously I'm a para, so I'm speaking from my experience, but if you're able to move around, do the things, initiate it, get a little freaky, wear the cute outfit. So a hack I had is I have this little pouch under the front of my wheelchair. And anytime I would go stay with the guy I was seeing, I would put a pair of cute lacy panties in there, because full time I wear a pull up, because obviously if I leak, it's easier to change the pull up, move on with my day and go on. But when I was with him, he's like, oh, that pull up, I don't know, man. I don't know. And I'm like, well, let me be cute. So before sex, I would cap and I'd change out of my pull up into these cute little lacy panties. So then I'm fresh. I'm not worrying about an accident. I wiped it down real quick with a baby wipe, because, sometimes it gets a little warm down there. And then I put on this cute pair of lacy panties that now it's one more piece of clothing for him to take off, that brings that sexy back. And I will tell y'all, with him, it was the first time I even put like my cute lacy thongs on since being paralyzed. Like these are panties I've had before, and they've just brand new panties, just been in the drawer chilling for the last 8 years. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna like spice it up. And so sometimes I would wear like a cute outfit under. And again, I'd pull my pull up off and then snap the outfit. And then we'd go do what we do. And then as soon as we were done, I'd go back, put my pull up back on. So I'm safe again. And I feel comfortable and safe. And then we'd move on. And like then it got to a point where like in the morning, that was the only time, morning sex, y'all. He'd have to rip that thing off. And next thing I know, the pull-ups flying across the room because I don't sleep without it either. And so like you get to a point where your partner's comfortable with your disability. But even though, say you're 3 years into your relationship, 4 years into your relationship, I've seen it's time and time again where it's like, oh, I'm like 4 or 5 years in and now my partner's no longer interested. Well, you got to keep spicing it up. Just because he's comfortable with your pull-up, still wear the panties whenever you're about to get nasty. Do the thing. Don't let life take you away that you don't forget to make the effort to still be sexy, because it is difficult with the disability. Like I definitely didn't feel it when I put on my little pull up. I'm like, oh, I'm just like an overgrown toddler. Whereas when I put on that black lace thong, I was like, damn bitch, you a fine ass girl over here in them panties. You know what I'm saying? And so that's another way. Like if you feel like you're not confident, put on a cute outfit, do your hair, throw on some makeup, put on that pair of panties, do what you can to make yourself feel sexy. So I'm going to show you guys some toys I played around with, and then we'll have open conversation. Oh, I got two more things, actually. 2 more things. We're going to talk about it. but first, let me pull out all the stops, right? The first thing I'm going to hit on is how important it is to be very, 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 I cannot emphasize this enough, very well lubricated. Okay. This is both with sex, like regular penetration, and with toys. The paralyzed guy that I messed around with, we didn't get as lubricated as we needed to. And we ripped the head of his penis during intercourse. And I have heard of paraplegic women tearing. So you want to be sure that you use enough lubrication that there's no raw friction, because it's a hard place to heal, especially us women, because we're sitting on it all the time. So I'm going to share with you. I have this silicone personal lubricant. It's by Mod. It's really nice. It doesn't irritate me at all. And then I have this coconut oil by Woo. I love this one too. I honestly prefer the coconut oil. It's so nice and it's different. The only thing is if the bottle gets cold, what happens to coconut oil? It gets hard. All right. So this one is my favorite because, oh, there's husky hair on it. That's not why. Because this one was given to me when I was in the hospital. So my boss, I worked for a dentist, and she brought this to me. It has a very strong vibration. I will say that I did not feel it in the beginning, and I do feel it now, which is nice. This one I've had since before my injury. It has heat in it. I do not use the heat post-injury just because it is a little long. So I'm not the biggest fan of it just because I don't have full sensation. I don't want to hurt myself. This one is nice because when you put it in where the vibrator's on for a woman on your clit, the stimulation of it just like makes my legs do this thing. And when my legs do the thing, I don't know, I like it. Yes, I can post information on brands. I will look those up, especially this one. Now I'm going to show you guys my favorite one. I got this bad boy in Amsterdam. Okay. Bree took me to the sex shop. It's her fault. I originally got this one for the boy I was seeing. I wanted to play around and try different things because it's a hers pleasure machine. But honestly, I'm glad that it's just a hers right now. It's called Te Amo. So it's like this little rabbit guy, right? I call it my rabbit ears. And this folds down and together like this. So there's a few ways you can use it. You could put it inside you like this, Or if you don't want to put it inside you, you can literally, it spreads apart. So you can use it to vibrate here, behind your ear, gently rub it. You can put it on your nipples. For men, you can put it on your balls, around the bottom of the base of your penis. Again, your nipples on your, same way for men, on your neck. And it's a him, her. So you can both use it. You and your partner can share this. And it will spicing up things in the room. So like, say you don't want to do penetration, you could do something like this that will help to fill that gap a little bit and help you out. The last two things, or the last thing I'm going to show before I open up for questions, is some exercises you can do in bed. So first thing is like keeping your hips pretty well loose. So you want to be sure you're stretching a lot. You see how bendy I am, put the leg out, do the things. If you want to practice positions, you can practice like going on your back and getting your legs up. And like, this is one that is pretty easy. You can get your legs up, hold your legs. You want to practice like managing your legs because they're floppy noodles. They're going to go wherever they want to go. So the better that you can manage them, the better of an experience you're going to have. One of my favorites is to get on my belly. And this one, it took me like, I'm not gonna lie, it took me like 6 months of practice to be able to get it to where my hips didn't sway. But you get up on your knees. And so if you have a non-disabled partner, they can hold your hips for you and really help you. Or if you want a little more stability, you can lay back like that. Now, the last one, like if you get on top, I want to just warn you to watch your legs, watch your femurs, watch the position, because when you get on top, you're on your knees like I just was, right? I have a friend in Canada, broke her femur riding dick, man. I don't want that to be y'all. So be sure that you watch your legs, always watch the positioning, because you can't feel them. So you want to make sure they're not getting twisted, not bending the wrong way. You're not messing up ligaments. Sex should be enjoyable, not hurtful. So keep that in mind. Okay. That's why it's really important to practice in your own bed, understand your own body, learn your body, learn the way it can bend, learn what it can do. You know how far you can stretch. And so if you're with a partner, don't feel embarrassed for saying, hey, my legs don't move that way. Hey, my body doesn't move that way. There's nothing to be embarrassed about your disability. It's literally your superpower. It's what makes you different. It's what gives you strength, because you're out here living life and doing things that non-disabled people wouldn't do. So don't let that stop you from going and exploring and having a good time and having good sex, because you are worthy, you deserve it, and you're capable of it, man. So get to know your body, get connected with self, play with the things, touch your body, love your body, and love yourself, and do things that are gonna feed that love of self. Do things that are going to fulfill that soul. Do things that are going to build that confidence, and just focus on becoming 1% more confident each day. Execute the things that are going to get you 1% there every day. Do that consistently. And then next thing you know, you're going to be leading an empowerment night on gaining sexual confidence, showing off your vibrators. I appreciate you guys' time and just for coming out. If you have any questions, feel free to unmute, ask. You will get a recording of this in your email along with the books I talked about. And then I'm going to try and find all of the things I've shown. So there's that. So does anyone want to add any thoughts, comments, concerns, questions? Oh, come on. Anything and everything. Let's see this chat. Oh yeah. Oh, Yo, I know I've been walked out on. I'm gonna agree with that real quick, Ron. I feel that so much. So my first partner, I told you guys he was a wheelchair user and I shit on him during sex. And I'm grateful it was a wheelchair user because he understood. He's like, oh, this is like a new injury thing. Ooh. So if that is a concern, what is that disability dating app called? There's an app for disabled people specifically. Like if you're trying to have a good time, I would hook up with another disabled person because they're so much less judgy. And like I know in the past I've said I would never date a wheelchair user, and that's true. I don't like go out searching for a wheelchair user. But if you're looking for like a good sexual experience, I would get with another person with a disability because then there is no judgment. Yeah, Ron, go ahead and try that. That could open up your mind a little. Because it's such a different level of understanding, right? Like how many of you guys just like nod your head or throw a hand up? How much do you respect what somebody with a disability has to say more than somebody without a disability? Right? Like right, exactly. So like that's because of that mutual understanding that's already there. You respect that person, you know they're living with it, you know they're more likely to understand. So I just recommend exploring a disabled person. Yeah, I don't know how I could forget about oral sex. You're right, because that's my favorite thing to do.
I honestly thought you were gonna bring it up with the Corey.
I was not gonna show how I suck. Bree's like, we want to see how you suck a dick, Jesse.
The one thing the guy at the sex shop taught us with the Corey.
Oh, that's right. Oh, yeah. Oh my God. I forgot that part. I never got to explore it. Okay, so apparently Bree has been thinking about this, guys. So you take this, and for a woman, if you have a penis in your throat, or for Ron, if a woman has your penis in her throat or in her mouth, you could put it like this and you'll feel the vibration through. And it helps it like all, I don't know. The guy gave me a full demo in the store. So clearly he sold me. I still got bamboozled. I didn't get bamboozled. This is the best toy I've ever purchased. But that's the thing. You've got to be willing to just like explore and be open and be honest with yourself. That's the biggest thing. Oh, I love that. I love that so much. Yay. Oh my gosh. See? And you just got to initiate it more. I think that's the biggest thing too, is like we wait for someone else. That's my biggest thing, is I wait for someone else to initiate it. Like, nah, we got to be the ones to be like, hey, I need some love. I appreciate you guys having this conversation and being open and willing. It means a lot to me that you come every night during these empowerment weeks and you come and spend an hour of your time with us. And I'm very appreciative. I can't believe I left oral sex out. Dateability. Yeah, Millie said Dateability. That's the app. We'll reshare that too. I'm over here like blind trying to read this. Well, perfect. Does anyone have any final thoughts before we pop off for the night? Man,
Well, I can't believe it's over already.
I know. I can't believe this 45. It's like the fastest 45 minutes of my life. I was so nervous, you guys. You had me.
This is the first event of this type that I've ever attended.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm glad that you joined us. Thank you. Ah.
So
Oh,
I had a thought. I don't even know how to put it into a question or whatever, because I'm not with a guy, I'm with a girl. And so some of the things that you showed were, I don't think I'd ever like really ever use them. Maybe the one that looks like the bunny thing I could probably think of
yeah.
something.
Nah, girl, you could definitely use this.
But yeah, because I'm like, well, because I'm struggling so hard with like sex in our relationship, just because I am like losing mobility as time goes on, and like I'm what I used to be able to feel, I'm not feeling anymore, and I'm probably never going to get it back. And so trying to figure out like what am I gonna do? Or how am I gonna like something? Because I mean, obviously, you can't be in a relationship and have no sex. Like that's not an option, you know? So I'm really happy for this for this Zoom or whatever, because I like everything you said totally like touched my heart because I'm just like, oh my God. Like I don't like I feel like I'm not the only one, or I feel like maybe I can figure this out. And I know I'm down to talk about sex anytime. I've always been really open, but talking about sex with a disability, that has been, I never thought I would ever like feel this stumped, like honestly.
Girl, I'm
So
telling
if you
you.
do send that information for that bunny thing or whatever, or the
Oh,
rabbit thing you said, like heck yeah,
I will
I
100%
will try it.
And I will say, as you're losing function, that's where the importance of the connectedness comes in. So, like, continuing to develop that and strengthen that connectedness you have with your partner is going to be huge because the
Yeah,
more connected you are, the more you can take yourself mentally to that climax. Because
yeah.
even, I mean, I think about how many women, I'm sorry, men that are in here, but ladies, if that have lost function or like went have had sex with that before, um, think about how many times you didn't get off just with penetration, right? Like I know there's plenty of times I faked it and I didn't get off. And it's because I wasn't connected. I was just going through the motions and doing the act. And so that's why I
I
cannot emphasize that connectedness enough.
I feel bad. Like I feel bad that I can't, like I can't get to that place like before. And it takes like a long time and a lot of extra work to even get there, or whatever. But I don't wear like I've never really been like a thong wearing kind of a girl or whatever. But you did help me think about like some cute little booty shorts or like something like that. Because I hate like I feel like my diaper is not a very like sexy thing to try to like, hey, let me rub up on you and like you're feeling a diaper. Like,
Well,
That
and
always
also just
messes with
just to
me.
kind of pivot off of what you're saying is like having like the different places on your body that doesn't just have to be the penetration. Like it can be like other places that can make it where you have the sensation and realizing that feels good and all that kind of stuff, I think is a huge thing as well.
Yes. Yes. Thank you, Tanya. Yes.
thank you for letting me vent.
Girl, absolutely. Yes. And y'all, again, I appreciate the open and real conversation because it's something that we don't have enough. This is something we don't talk about enough. And after reading Dr. Tepper's book back, I read it at the end of July and I literally just reread it this week to prepare for this event. My mind has been opened even more than what I've originally experienced. And so I just want you guys to open your mind as well and realize that orgasm really comes from connectedness. And there's science and data to back that up. And so if you're not having good sex and not having good orgasms, even without penetration, like oral sex, I left that whole thing out. Even touch, just being kissed, being coddled, like the whole sensation of just that connectedness, that can take you there if you allow it. And so I'm just challenging you guys to open your mind, try new things, learn
I've always experienced that I'm getting off before I even get my pants off.
yeah, that's
And
it.
and it's just like, okay, I guess I'll just uh mess around with you for a little while until I'm ready to go again.
Oh, and that's the best kind of
And
connection though. That's that real connection.
my wife has never complained, not once. So
I
I
love
think 46 years of having spina bifida, I have adapted orally.
Good. You know how many wheel men say that? That's like such a wheel. That is the most wheel man thing I've ever heard in my life.
And I'm not a wheelman. I'm actually on forearm crutches. I do have a wheelchair,
All
but
right.
I use it for exercise.
Okay. Well, shit, Ron. You're still half wheel.
Yeah, yeah.
Mostly walkie, half wheel. We already know. I love that.
I
Well,
try to push out a lot and take my wheelchair to entertainment events and things of that nature, but my wife won't let me get away with it. She said, "No, your ass is walking."
it makes you send it.
You bet.
I love that. Well, thank you guys for your input, for sharing, and for another great empowerment. Tomorrow is our last night. You can join Bree hooping. It's my new favorite like activity we do. It's like hooping and dancing at the same time, hula hooping and dancing. Super fun, super cool. 10 out of 10 recommend. Even you guys should hop on that. And then this will be the link will be sent to you, the YouTube link. And then along with that, there will actually be vibrators and lube and all the things I talked about tonight, including Dr. Tepper's book, that will also be sent to you in that same email. So be looking out for that. And thank you for coming. And if you gain value today and you have another wheelchair using friend or somebody that you think could benefit from this, share the link with them and give them the conversation. Let them hear it, because that's how we spread this message and normalize disabled people having good sex. Thank you guys for your time. Have a good night. I'm Jesse, and I will see you soon.